Hey everyone! So if you're building with React or Next.js, you already know the deal. Performance isn't some one-and-done task. It's something you have to live and breathe. Today, we're going to build out a complete strategy, a real playbook for making your apps faster. We're talking about moving away from frantic, reactive fixes and toward a proactive culture of performance. Let's dive in. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the whole reason we're here. Because without actual data, trying to optimize your app is basically like throwing darts in the dark. You might get lucky and hit something, but you have no idea if it was the right thing or if you even made a real difference. And that's a fair question, right? The world of performance tools can feel like a total maze. You've got dozens of tools, all these different metrics, and a whole alphabet soup of acronyms. But don't worry, we're going to give it all some structure, a clear pyramid of strategies that you can start using today. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start at the very bottom, at the foundation, just figuring out why we even measure things. Then we'll climb up to hands-on profiling right in your browser, move to broader application audits, and then, and this is a big one, we'll talk about listening to your actual users. And finally, we'll get to the top, making performance a real, lasting part of your team's culture. Okay, first up, let's lay the groundwork. This is really about a crucial mindset shift. It's what turns performance work from this frustrating one-off chore into a reliable, repeatable system for making things better. Look, measuring performance basically gives you superpowers. Instead of just guessing why a page feels sluggish, you can see exactly which component is re-rendering a dozen times when it shouldn't, or which network call is holding everything up. It lets you spot those sneaky regressions the moment they're introduced and focus your energy on optimizations that actually matter to your users. All right, time to get our hands dirty. The first layer of our pyramid is all about the tools you're going to be using day in and day out for detailed debugging, right there in your browser. Think of this as your immediate first line of defense. And your absolute go-to tool for anything happening inside your React components is the React Profiler. It's built right into the React DevTools, and it's laser-focused on answering one critical question. Why in the world did this component just update? And the real magic of the Profiler is just how specific it gets. It doesn't just tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, something's slow. No, it points a finger directly at the culprit. It shows you the exact component, how long it took to render, and why it rendered in the first place. You can instantly spot stuff like a missing memo call that's causing an entire component tree to update for no reason. Okay, now let's zoom out a little. While the React Profiler is your microscope for components, the Chrome DevTools Performance Panel is your telescope for the entire browser. It shows you everything from JavaScript execution all the way to painting pixels on the screen. You know that feeling when an app is just janky? Unresponsive? This is where you find out why. It helps you hunt down those dreaded long tasks that freeze up the main thread, spot layout shifts as they happen, and see exactly how your network requests are impacting the whole experience. Okay, moving on up the pyramid. Once you've got a handle on the micro-level stuff, it's time to pull back and use tools that give you a broader, more automated analysis of your entire app's health. And when you think of a performance audit, Lighthouse is probably the first thing that comes to mind, right? It's built right into Chrome, and you can think of it as a comprehensive health checkup for your site. It gives you a standardized score and, more importantly, a to-do list of actionable ways to improve. Lighthouse really focuses on what the user experiences. It measures stuff like LCP, basically, how fast can your user actually see the important stuff on the page? FID, how quickly can they click on something and have it respond? And CLS, how much does the page jump around while it's loading? This is your high-level report card. But what happens when Lighthouse isn't enough? When you need to get really granular? That's when you bring in the expert's choice, web page test. This thing lets you test from different parts of the world on real devices with throttled network speeds. It gives you an incredibly accurate picture of what's really going on. And for all you Next.js developers out there, listen up because this one is an absolute must-have. The Build Analyzer is like a radar for your JavaScript payload. It gives you this visual map of your bundles so you can see exactly which library is taking up all the space. It's your secret weapon for hunting down and eliminating bloat. All right, this next part, this is maybe the most important shift in thinking we're going to talk about. So far, all the tools we've discussed run in a controlled lab environment. But what about your actual users? On their phones, on spotty Wi-Fi? That's where we need to go next. And here's the fundamental difference. On one side, you've got your synthetic tests. They're awesome for getting consistent results in a lab and for catching regressions in your deployment pipeline. But on the other side, you have real user monitoring, or RUM. And this is the real story. This is what people are actually experiencing out in the wild.
RUM is your ground truth. It tells you your core web vitals, not just for one test, but aggregated across thousands of users. You might discover something totally unexpected, like, wow, this checkout page is dog slow for users on older Android phones in Brazil. That's an insight you would never find in a lab test.
So we've reached the summit of our pyramid. We've got the tools, we've got the real user data. Now, for the final piece of the puzzle, how do we make all of this a permanent, proactive part of how we build software? The answer is performance budgets. And I just love this way of framing it, a non-negotiable contract with your users. It's not a suggestion, it's a hard limit. It's a promise you make that you won't let your app get slower over time through death by 1,000 cuts. So what does this actually look like? It's not some vague idea. You set concrete limits. Our max JavaScript bundle size is 150 kilobytes. Our LCP must be under 2.5 seconds. And then you enforce it. You can wire this up to your CI/CD pipeline so that if a pull request violates the contract, the build fails. Simple as that. So let's bring it all together. This isn't just about a list of tools. It's a mindset. It's a continuous loop. You measure everything. You profile your components regularly. You use real user data to understand the truth. You keep your bundles lean. You track your vitals. And you are always, always watching for regressions. That's the playbook. And that, right there, is the ultimate goal. Not just to build a fast app for launch day, but to create a system and a culture that ensures it stays fast forever. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. What's the first line you're going to draw on the sand? What's the first performance budget your team is going to set?